And we are back, and joining us via the phone, as she does every Tuesday at this time, is Holly Signorelli. Holly is a CPA. She bills herself as the money therapist and is author of a book called Do You Know Where Your Money Is? Today, we're going to talk about financial stress and how it really does prevent productivity in the workplace. And with the numbers of people who have financial problems in their personal life, I'm sure it does carry over in the workplace. Holly?
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. If you got money problems in your personal life, it's like anything else. You know, one of the things that's always concerned me in our society, if you get a divorce at 11 o'clock in the morning and you're back to work by 1 in the afternoon, people expect, what the hell's the matter with you, Holly? You seem to be moping around. Now, you got your divorce, get with the program.
Right.
Divorce is like a death. And I think that we ought to treat, society ought to treat divorce like death. But we don't. And I think having financial burdens and the stress that comes with financial burdens, don't tell me that it doesn't affect your performance in the workplace. You might say, "No, I'm Teflon Holly. It doesn't bother me at all." You lie, you lie, you lie, and it'll show up in your work.
Yeah, that's definitely true because I've owned my businesses for so long and also worked with so many entrepreneurs. I've always recognized that, just like they say in this article, with depression or anything else like that, stress can lead to depression, and stress itself it causes all kinds of physical symptoms in your body. So some people get headaches, some people get, stomach ache or acid reflux, and those kind of things can be very uncomfortable, and then you're just not present when you're working. You're not focused, and of course you're going to be more likely to call in sick, even though it is just a headache or a stomach ache, and you're not really sick, but there's different kinds of sickness, and including things like depression and stress that starts to get the best of you. And there's ways to get around those feelings of stress and being overwhelmed. But sometimes people get so stuck in whatever that problem is that they're having. It could be a small one, but it starts to grow, because they can't figure out the solution. And then, of course, it's going to affect their productivity at work. They're just not going to be focused the way that they need to be.
Now, there may be some people who are wondering, well, why did Posick go off on a tangent to begin with talking about divorce? Newsflash, the number one reason why people get a divorce is not sex. As you might think, that might be your knee-jerk reaction. The number one reason why people get a divorce is over money.
Right. Absolutely true. They're either, and it may not even be that they don't have enough money, they just may be fighting about how the money is being spent or allocated for the household, or somebody's spending more than the other, or maybe they have debt. And that definitely can carry over into your productivity at the office if you're feeling like, oh, I've got to make more money so that we can have this thing or that thing, instead of actually focusing. And I know that, when I've shared my story before, but when I went through a really bad real estate deal 10 years ago, and I had some pretty significant debt at the time, I knew that for me to get through it, that I had to put it all aside and completely focus on what I was doing at all times in my business, to completely redirect my attention to my clients and not the situation I was trying to get out of, because you can't be creative to get out of a situation when you're focusing on it, and that is an absolute fact.
I contend, Holly, that, and I've mentioned this before, I think the reason why money management becomes such a big deal in a marriage is because we talk about a lot of things when we're dating. We talk about how many kids we want to have, how we want to discipline those kids. We talk about how large a family we want, how big a house we want. We talk about all kinds of things about what we like to do, vacations that we want to take. We'll talk about religion and politics, even though you're not supposed to. We do. We talk about all kinds of things. Rarely do we talk about budgeting, money management. What's your feelings about savings? How much of our combined income should we be setting aside? And what are we setting it aside for? And because
this is a good subject because I don't think in my entire career that I've had more than 10 couples come to me before they got married to go over a financial plan. They always come about 6 months after they get married, or maybe even a year. Like that first year they're having fun, or maybe they get pregnant or something, because a lot of people do in the first year, and then they're suddenly ready to do a financial plan because there's a new, baby involved. Isn't that fascinating? It's like, why don't people come in ahead of time? I've maybe had 2 people, come in ahead of time, really. I mean, it's crazy.
Well, and it affects, people today. Sociologists will say, well, people are getting married later in life. Sure they are. And I think part of that reason is student loan debt.
Mm-hmm.
And, before you marry somebody, you've got to reconcile in your mind, do I love them enough to assume their debt? And sometimes the answer is not that much. I ain't going to, I love them, but I don't love them enough to assume their debt.
That is true, but sometimes people are willing to do that. And, really that's between the couple, because maybe even though one person's helping another person with debt, the other person may be contributing in a way that is has equal value. They're just doing something different, but it has equal value, just depending on how each person's income level is. But I've seen that work, but it worked because there was complete, open, and honesty, definitely. That's the only way that can work. It is why it's the number one reason for divorce. You're right.
If you take on the responsibility of debt that was not yours, and you're in debt through no fault of your own, you got to be one heck of a saintly person not to feel any animosity towards that person, or not feel any resentment at all. And if you go to work every day feeling like, how in the world are we going to make ends meet? And if you are always juggling one bill over another, literally robbing Peter to pay Paul, borrowing money from one credit card to pay off another credit card, that ain't no way to live, Holly.
It's not, yeah. It's not. That's why I've been doing a lot of stuff lately for the debt situation, because so many people just don't understand the self-sabotage mechanisms that they have in place, since they were young. They really don't understand why they get in debt. So that's why sometimes people, when they get out of debt, they end up right back into it, because it's just something so familiar to them, or they just got so used to it. It's a real psychological issue, and it's rampant in our country right now, and it's getting worse.
And I think what happens oftentimes too is that when a young couple gets married, if they don't discuss their finances and what they're going to do, they overstep their means, and they want to start life right where they are right now, or where their parents are right now. They want to live in the same size of house that they're coming from. They want the same kind of amenities, appliances, furniture, furnishings that their parents have. That ain't how it works. I'm sorry. That's not how life is. you better shoot your goals, better be lower than that. And I'm always amazed to drive in neighborhoods where the homes start at $500,000 and see tricycles in the driveway. I think, where did I go wrong? What do these people do for a living? I couldn't afford to live in that house. How can they with little children? How are they doing that? And I don't have the answer to that. Maybe it's a CPA you do. I don't.
I don't know if I have the best answer, but I do think when people come from homes, because I grew up in a home with there were 6 of us and 1 income, but we weren't, broke or anything, but we didn't have all those luxury things, so I always had to work for that, and I didn't think anything of it. But I do know quite a few people that grew up in very, very wealthy homes where just because you grew up in a wealthy home doesn't mean that your parents didn't teach you the value of money, but oftentimes they don't. And then those kids do think that they can skip that step. And some people just feel that way anyway. It might not be because of upbringing. It's just that they're looking around and comparing themselves, which is, of course, in my book about keeping up with the Joneses. So, sometimes people have those feelings of jealousy for other people and want to have those things, and they don't want to take that time to really learn something and be good at it and be able to make the money that they need to make to have those things themselves.
I can certainly understand why you were interested in talking about financial stress and productivity and how it affects people in the workplace. And I don't know what percentage of people this affects in the workplace, but I bet it's a lot bigger than we realize.
They say it's 75%, and that doesn't surprise me at all. I actually, over the years, got to where if I could see that somebody was stressing, because, this is kind of what I do for a living, that I would have a personal talk with them. Because sometimes owners don't want to cross too much of a boundary with employees, but there's a way to do that in an honest and caring way to see what's going on. And, you don't have to be their counselor, but maybe you can lead them in the right direction for someone that can help them with the problem that they're having, hopefully because you do care about your employees. And, of course, you want them to be productive, but I think there's a bigger picture even beyond the productivity because so many people are having depression issues because of the ups and downs of the economy. And the stress is getting the best of everybody, which is pretty much everything that I talk about in my videos, because we can't keep focusing on stress. I was having a stressful day the last couple of days, and it started to get the best of me. And you know what I did? I went to a kickboxing class, and let me tell you, if you want to get the stress out of your mind, go to a kickboxing class. You'll get your butt kicked. You'll get some endorphins going, and you won't be stressed anymore. I felt fantastic when I left that class.
Well, if 3 out of 4 people are stressed and they all took kickboxing lessons and or did that for an exercise, what a budgeting business and industry that would become. Yeah, but I thank you so much for coming and sharing on health, wealth, and happiness.
You bet. Have a great day.